At 18 past the hour, U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Jeanine Pirro, recently reversed a long-standing policy banning open carry in the Capitol.
All right, that's just crazy. I mean, we're just talking about RFK Jr. This is madness. Open carry in Washington, D.C. is a threat to Republicans, Democrats, every public servant. It's menacing. It makes police officers' job that much harder in the nation's capital.
Chilling.
This is insanity.
All right. Now, personally, I would not open carry. I conceal. That's how I roll. But so this is you can see the liberal mind melt down, right? A gun, it's like the most scary thing ever in the world. Now, if someone is going to openly carry a rifle or a shotgun, that's kind of, I mean, that's pretty nuts. It's just a big fucking, kind of heavy, get a little pistol. I mean, I don't think you can. There's probably so many regulations in DC that you probably cannot have a concealed carry legally. I don't know. Let me know if you know more about DC gun permitting. But does he believe, does she believe, does the panel they're about to go through believe that somebody that's walking around with an open firearm, with an open shotgun or rifle, is going to have it there illegally? Right? So like what would be the purpose of that? Right? If I'm walking around DC with a rifle, I'm basically saying, just please, just don't F with me. Just don't fuck with me. That's it. Just leave me alone. I'm going from here, I'm going to there. I'm not posting up outside of a place or protesting with her. I'm just trying to get to where I got to get and not get carjacked. That's where I'm going. But I want to see what they have to say, because law enforcement, if they see somebody with a long gun that's walking from point, they might say, "Hey, buddy, like what you good?" Yeah. All right. It's not. The people that we're worried about are the ones that are concealing it, right? The ones that are illegally having it and concealing it. The convicted felons that have a firearm and it's in the car, it's in a bag, it's in wherever. That's what we're worried about, because they're trying to commit crimes. If you're openly carrying it, the likelihood of you trying to commit a crime is pretty slim. Unless you're fucking batshit crazy, which is also a possibility.
At the same time that we're having this big debate about crime in Washington, D.C., where everyone's worried about violent crime in Washington, D.C., we're sending National Guard into D.C. We're going to also have open carry.
People can walk
Federal
around with AR-15s.
Bonkers.
It is bonkers. This is insanity.
Oh my God. Tears. It's just, you know what? I was there at one point. I'll get into my background later on down the line when people are actually watching. But I came from New York City, came from a background that was extremely liberal, and that was me at probably the age of 15 is where he is now. Like 15, 16, 17, 18, I just thought that was insanity. I just thought that it's just going to be mayhem and everyone's just going to die. Everyone's going to die. It's just amazing to see an elderly person like this who's been in the know, who's supposed to be well read and well versed on these issues, to have that sort of a visceral reaction to guns it's amusing.
Federal prosecutors, they will no longer bring felony charges against people for possessing rifles or shotguns.
Do people
in the district.
in the White House want to walk around outside the White House and have people carrying AR-15s or shotguns?
Right. Of course, there will be around some of the federal buildings, there'll be different rules that will apply, right? Secret Service will step in. They will not be allowed to carry around a shotgun or anything else nearby.
What about on the mall?
But that's just it. Right. But it extends beyond those barriers. This is so poorly thought out here. It says at worst, violators could face a misdemeanor charge for illegally possessing an unregistered firearm. Pirro said in a statement that the change is based on the guidance from the DOJ and Office of the Solicitor General, and she claims conforms with 2 Supreme Court decisions on gun rights.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. This is insanity.
Of course it does.
This isn't at the same.
Of course it does. What this person is espousing right now, what he's doing right now, is his First Amendment right. You know which one is right after that one? Everyone knows. Right? He's been a lot of liberals, a lot of white liberals, a lot of just liberals in general. Let's not put white or black or anything color associated. A lot of liberals just have just this innate fear that has been driven into them, firearms. And that innate fear comes from people who shouldn't have firearms that have firearms. Convicted felons. Most of the crime in DC is probably young teens that shouldn't have firearms. Most of the crimes in every major city are young teens that shouldn't have firearms. So you have this mentality inside of your head with every time you see a firearm. Like, I see firearms all the time in a rural county. I literally carry all the time. Carrying right now. I carry when I'm in my house, when I'm outside of my house, when I'm on my way to work. I come home from work, when I'm working. I carry all the time. Everybody in my town, a lot of people, they carry. I hear shotguns going off all the time where I live. When you live in an urban environment, that's not the norm for you, right? Because the Second Amendment has essentially doesn't exist where you live. Fortunate, I think it should change, but it is what it is for now. So when these people, when they see a gun, usually in the commission of a crime, what they don't realize is, or I'm sorry, they're perceived. When they see a gun, they believe that the only time they're seeing a gun is in the commission of a crime. What they don't realize is that they are surrounded by guns all the time. All the time. They're police officers. That doesn't mean that everybody has to be a police officer in order to possess a gun and to do it safely and to do it legally and to be a law-abiding citizen with a gun. That does mean that there are plenty of legal, safe guns around them all the time, and they're not just going off all over the place. The majority of police officers will never discharge their firearm in the line. They don't have to. And they're the ones that are going to the shit. If you're an average person who constantly conceals carry, the likelihood of you having to pull your firearm out ever is almost zero. That's just those are the stats. Almost zero. But the one day you do need to, it's there.
Time, you're trying to make Washington, D.C. a safer place. You're telling freaks all over the country, come to Washington, D.C. If you have a problem with people on either side, walk around with an AR-15 or a shotgun, and nothing bad's going to happen. Now,
that's not. I'll do a deep dive, right? But in the end, you cannot just. And I don't know if this is. You can't just travel across state lines yet with a firearm. That still doesn't work. It's still. You can't just start coming from out of jurisdictions and come into another jurisdiction with a firearm. If you legally possess a firearm in another state and you drive into New York City, you're going to be arrested. You're going to be prosecuted, at least for now. So I don't know exactly what the minutia, like what the details is for this bill or whatever it is that she signed, or she's no longer seeking to press felony charges for carrying. That's a lot of wiggle room there. A lot of wiggle room.
And every big city police chief will tell you their number one problem is guns, whether that's New York, Chicago, Los Angeles.
The number one problem is illegal guns. Every police chief will tell you that. So you leaving that illegal part out, but kind of a big deal. The number one problem is not people that have gone there. Now, granted, I believe in constitutional carry, whatever. Most cities, never going to happen, right? Most cities, you have to get a permit. You have to go take an exam. You have to pay a fee. You have to maybe get some training. Then after a long wait, then you can have your firearm. A lot of times you can't even carry it. You have it somewhere in your dwelling. And if you want to take it outside, that's another whole rigmarole you have to go through. Listen, not that I agree with it, but those are not the people that are causing the crime in the city with the guns, right? The people that are causing the crime in the city with the guns are the people that have been allowed to not have bail, lower the age, where now you can't prosecute a 15-year-old for possessing a firearm. He's going to be out right away and grab another firearm. You can't prosecute a 15, 16, 17-year-old for robbing somebody at gunpoint. You can't process a 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old for shooting somebody and not killing them. They're going to be out on the street again. That's the problem. The problem is the legal gun owner has nothing to do with these issues. Absolutely nothing to do with these issues. It's the criminals that get guns that then have the issue.
Or some of those cities down south.
It's been the problem in Washington, D.C. It's been the problem in Chicago.
So joining us now, president of Brady United Against Gun Violence, Chris Brown. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. In an op-ed that you wrote for the Washington Post with this headline, Jeanine Pirro's refusal to prosecute gun crimes endangers us all, you write in part this: This reversal is antithetical to public safety, sows confusion among gun owners and law enforcement alike, and increases the risk and lethality of gun violence. It's especially dangerous for D.C., which faces unique security concerns as our nation's capital. We already have about 2,000 armed federal troops patrolling the nation's capital, many of them from out of state and operating in an unfamiliar environment. Adding armed civilians without knowing whether they will be prosecuted for carrying in public creates additional risk and a feeling of fear and intimidation. Chris, certainly the sense around the table is that we agree with that. Tell us more as to why you.
So this is what it seems like to me, right? So so in the city of New York, I don't know about DC. You have to have. I think you can have a registered shotgun. You need a license for that. You need a license for a rifle or a shotgun in the city with New York. If what she's doing or claim, like, if I parse this out, right, I'm trying to think of what's the spin, what's going on here, what am I missing? I can see that all this is that people that live in Washington, D.C., that if somebody breaks into your house or if somebody's coming into your house and you happen to go outside with a rifle or a shotgun and you say, get off my property, or you're defending yourself from intruders coming into your residence or your property, back in the day, those people would be prosecuted, right? Because they're not allowed to have that gun, even though they're on their own property. I can see this being a streamlined way to say, listen, we're not going to do that shit anymore. If you're on your property, I mean, and the public is another thing. But if you're a citizen of the city, you're a law-abiding citizen of the city, and like I said, you're trying to get from point A to point B, and that helps you do it. That's what the Second Amendment is for. That's the whole. That's the point. You can defend yourself. So I think that it'll probably more so be used as, home defense, defense of property, defense of private property, and stuff like that. But in the end, this has nothing to do with what these guys are talking about, that it's going to be mayhem, because it already is mayhem. The people that want the guns and are doing the crimes already have the guns doing the crime. What she's saying is now the law-abiding people are allowed to also carry the guns. Now let's see how that changes the dynamic.
You believe this is such a bad idea?
Well, thanks for having me. And, the remarks.
It's such a bad idea to let non-criminals carry guns. How is that such a bad idea when criminals are already carrying guns?
That were made earlier really cover it. For law enforcement, for individuals walking around D.C. already in effectively a police state, for elected officials, the presence of armed individuals who are carrying long guns, assault-style weapons in the mix is a highly dangerous situation. And look, we've had experience with this in Washington, D.C. It happened on January 6th. And the reason...
Oh, my God. Oh. Who was armed on January 6th? Who? Can you point to one person that walked into the Capitol with a firearm? Can't. That was unbelievable that she just went there. But whatever.
And that January 6th, frankly, was not a complete bloodbath is because D.C. had very strict laws in place about open carry of firearms. I live right next to Washington, D.C., in Arlington, Virginia.
So she's saying that people didn't bring guns there because of the law. So what she's saying is she's saying that people obeyed the law and then broke the law, but obeyed it still. And nobody even had concealed guns, as far as I know, because nobody ever pulled anything out. So they still could have subverted the law by just, carrying it concealed. But they were such law-abiding citizens that they didn't bring guns, but then they also committed an insurrection. Okay.
All of the indictments that came out for those who participated in January 6th showed there were huge caches of firearms in places like Arlington, Virginia, in Maryland, because they were kept away from the district because they knew open carry was illegal. So we have past evidence of what having the restrictions.
Look at that picture they put up.
On open carry means. Today now, we have over 2,200 National Guard troops walking around. It is very hard to discern a good guy with a gun from a bad guy with a gun.
Is it? Is it very hard to discern? I'm going to say the bad guy with the gun's probably pointing it at somebody. That's one way. They're probably asking for money or something like that. Yeah.
So it's a cocktail, a recipe for disaster. And let's be clear. Jeanine Pirro's statement here is made in response to groups like Gun Owners of America concerned about crackdowns that the National Guard is making in D.C. and saying, well, what does this mean, recovering guns? In response to that, Jeanine Pirro said, oh, don't worry, open carry is fine, which when you're coming from a top prosecutor, what that means is an invitation for individuals intent on doing harm to come into our nation's capital and potentially do that harm, making law enforcement making it much more dangerous.
Yeah, it's not legal to come from another fucking state. Am I losing my mind here? Like, is that true? Like, guys, let me know down below if you can just from Hawaii get to DC and just walk around with a shotgun. I don't know. Like, can you drive down from Anchorage with a 50 cal and just start walking around downtown DC? Please let me know, because this shit is news to me. It seems to me like it's still illegal if you're not a resident there to just walk around. Like, are they conflating this? Are they doing this on purpose? I'm trying to figure this out live as we're doing this.
Dangerous for every single person in Washington, D.C., including our elected officials.
And what elected official in America has seen personally the danger of guns in political settings more than Donald Trump during the campaign? A couple of times. And by the way, you're talking about making Washington, D.C. safer. Remember, I was having a debate.
So wait, he's talking about that they attempted to They attempted to assassinate Trump with a gun. So Trump shouldn't have guns around. But all the people defending Trump and the people that saved Trump had guns. Perfect logic.
With a guy that was like an absolutist on guns. And after Uvalde, he's like, oh, Mao and Stalin and took away guns and then they took over the country. I said, yeah, so you're saying we need to go the other way, where outside of the elementary school in Uvalde, you had like 200 law enforcement officers that were outgunned by one freak inside with an AR-15. He was able to walk.
Yeah, no, that is a total lie, right? They were not outgunned. They just didn't go in. Big difference.
Into a store and get. That's the America you want? That our law enforcement officers are outgunned? And now Jeanine Pirro is saying, come to Washington, D.C., open carry your AR-15s and your shotguns. And what does that do but make Washington less safe?
Preparing for the next January 6th to be more effective?
The worst part is, John, you made the point that, there'll be areas likely where they'll say you can't have open carry, whether that's on the mall or, I want to know, walk into Union Station and people are going to be walking around with AR-15s? I hope not. But by saying this, you confuse the issue as to what's an area that's going to be considered,
Now, personally, I wouldn't do that. Like I said, carrying around a long gun in an urban setting it's not the smartest idea, right? It's better to have something quaint on your hip. A lot of people don't know about it. Because a long gun, like a perfect example, right? And this is why I wouldn't do it. Let's say you're carrying a long gun, you have it on your back or your front or however it is you're carrying it, and you get into an altercation with somebody. The person's not armed, and you start getting into a struggle. I mean, you can't shoot them, and it just makes things a lot more difficult for you as a person. You shouldn't be carrying, in my opinion, unless you're there with a group, unless you're there in some type of capacity where things are organized. You shouldn't just walk around the city with a long gun. Crazy person can come up and grab it from you. There's a lot of shit that can go wrong in this scenario. I'm not saying I'm down with it. But I am saying that it seems like it should be legal when it comes, if you're looking at the way our Constitution is written.
Okay, what's not? And so by default, even if you think you put in these sort of steps, which they may,
Secret Service will insist upon it in some areas.
I'm sure, but it doesn't matter, because then they're going to go into those areas anyway, and then they're going to say, excuse me, I heard Jeanine Pirro on television telling me this.
The whole thing.
Well, but Andrew, what I thought you were going to go to was, what it suggests is that all the places in the city that have the worst violent crime, it's going to be fine to carry to carry AR-15s around. Essentially saying, well, we got to protect our elected officials, so we'll have these.
Yeah, that's fucking retarded. No, that's not at all what it's saying. Okay. So what he's saying right there, he's saying, oh no, they're going to protect themselves by not allowing long guns in this area. No, you fucking idiot. Is that you don't want direct line of sight from a long gun to the White House. That makes sense, right? Does that not make sense? And yeah, these poor people in freaking infested areas where crime-ridden infested areas, maybe they want to carry a long gun and protect themselves, and maybe that'll bring down the crime. It has nothing to do with them protecting themselves. They're already protected because they have guys with guns. They don't need to carry guns. So the people that are in that area, there's a shitload of law enforcement there already. There's a shitload of protection there already. This is meant for the average person in the outskirts, right? That is living in like a war zone, and now they can be safe and not be prosecuted. That's what it's for.
Zones where you can't have open carry, but in Southeast. In Northeast, in Southwest, you'll be able to you just walk around brandishing your AR-15, which essentially makes clear that there's a different value for different kinds of life in Washington D.C. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. The rich areas already are well policed, right? The poor areas that are not well policed, that's something. Then they can carry. I mean, oh my God. This is fucking infuriating.
Also, does this not put the lie to the notion that what the federal takeover of policing in Washington, D.C. is not about crime? It's about this other thing. If you're really focused on trying to prevent violent crime and bring the violent crime rate down in Washington, you would not let Jeanine Pirro do what she's doing, and Donald Trump has that within his...
You would not let... Okay, if you're focused on violent crime, you would not let law-abiding citizens to carry guns. Figure that one out for me, right? Because he's conflating things. He's essentially saying that you're going to allow criminals to carry guns. That's not what's happening. It's not what's happening. It's not for criminals. If you're a convicted felon, you still can't open carry a gun. You're not allowed to have a gun. Right? Are we all on the same page here? So the law is meant, what essentially they're saying is we are no longer going to prosecute the good people that have guns. We're going to go after the people that are not supposed to have guns. We're going to go after the people that are committing crimes. And if you are one of these law-abiding citizens, you're not going to be burdened by fear, the fact that you're trying to protect yourself, and now all of a sudden you have law enforcement coming down and giving you felony charges because you were trying to protect yourself.
Is control.
President of Brady United Against Gun Violence.
Christ, guys. What the? All right. Well, if you're still here with me, please hit the subscribe button. It does me a lot of good. Small channel trying to grow. On the X, 6283 Talk on X, if you want to check me out there. I'm John Soto, and I'll see you again on the next video. This shit was fucking frustrating. God damn.